Hey, what's up guys, it's Darkroom Duelist, and today I'm doing a scrap deck. So I'm really excited for this one because it's a really cool deck that basically revolves around summoning Scrap Dragon and Scrap Twin Dragon to be able to bounce stuff and pop stuff on your opponent's side of the field to be able to OTK them by swarming the field and summoning a bunch of scrap monsters. So it's a really fun deck that basically revolves around synchro summoning, and it's just an overall awesome deck that came out during the 5Ds era. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notifications squad, and let's get straight on this. But before we do, I really quickly want to mention you guys that we do have a Ko-Fi and a Patreon in the description. So if you guys would like to donate to the channel, all donations are very much so appreciated. So let's get into this guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Scrap Golem. So Scrap Golem is a really interesting card that basically has the effect of once per turn you can select a level 4 or lower scrap monster in your graveyard and special summon it to either player's side of the field. Now that does come in handy by it saying either player's side of the field later on in the deck profile. So it's a really cool card that basically is not, it's a soft once per turn, so every time it goes off the field and comes back on the field, it can do it again. And it's once per copy, so I could do it per Scrap Golem. So I have 3 Scrap Golems on the field. I can resolve all 3 of them and revive something, which is really cool. Then we play 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. If this card does get hit on the ban list, we do have ways of playing around this. So definitely check out the highlighted comment if it does get hit. And go to like 1 or 0. I think they're going to really focus more on the Orcus side if they do hit Orcus, which I know they're going to hit Orcus, but I feel like they're going to focus more on the Orcus side and less on the Scrap Recycler side because they keep hitting like Armageddon Knight and Dark Grapher and Mathematician, and then this, it's going to just, if they hit this, they're going to just go to Mathematician. So, I mean, it kind of just, it's just, they need to hit something else. So, but if they do, if Konami does, definitely look on the highlighted comment and we'll take care of it there. So, then we play 2 copies of Scrap Chimera. Scrap Chimera's effect is basically that if it's normal summoned, this card cannot be synchro summoned or cannot be used as a synchro material except for the synchro summon of a scrap monster, and all their synchro materials must be scrap. And then when this card is normal summoned, you can select a scrap tuner in your graveyard and special summon it, which is really cool to be able to get extra scrap monsters on the field. And that's why Scrap Recycler is so important for the deck, is because you send a Earth machine monster from your deck to your hand, or deck to the graveyard, or any machine monster from your deck to the graveyard, which can really help out the deck to set up for like Chimera and stuff like that. Then we play 2 copies of Scrap Orthos. So Scrap Orthos is a really interesting card in here because basically what Scrap Orthos does is you can you can select a face-up scrap monster you control and then destroy it, and if this card, and then special summon this card, which is really cool. And then you can also, if this card is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can select another scrap card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is really beneficial for this deck to be able to put other, scrap cards back into your hand, because that's really good to be able to recycle them because they are scrap. You got to recycle your scrap, guys. So then we play 2 copies of Scrap Beast. I know I've seen a lot of people just playing 1, but I feel like 2 is the better number because you have more utility with your tuners and stuff like that. Basically what Scrap Beast does is if this card's face-up defense position is selected as an attack target during the battle phase, it destroys itself. And if this card is destroyed by a card effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can select a scrap monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. So it kind of brings them back to your hand, but I really like it as a 2-of because you always want to have the tuner, and being a level 4 tuner is really, really good. Then we play a single copy of Scrap Shark. It's a good starter card. I just play it as a 1-of because it's just a good starter card. But basically, when an effect monster's effect or a spell or trap is activated, destroy this face-up card on the field. And if it's destroyed, you can add a scrap from your deck to your hand, which is really cool. Or send a scrap from your deck to the graveyard. So it's really good to mill stuff to the graveyard and really good to like get stuff out of your deck. And it works really well with the Scrap Recycling or Scrap Factory. It really works well with that. Then I play 1 copy of Scrap Golem. Scrap Golem's really good because it just is a level 3 tuner. And if it's destroyed by the effect of a scrap monster, you get to add a scrap from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good too. I play something that I don't see a lot of people playing, but I feel like it's a good 1-of in here. And that's a single copy of Scrap Mind Reader. It's kind of like Glow Bulb in a way because it recurs itself. Because once per turn, if this card, or when this card is in the graveyard during your main phase 2, you can select a face-up scrap monster and then destroy it, and then special summon this card from your graveyard. And if you do remove this card from the graveyard, or remove it from play when it leaves the field. So it's a really good, to me, one of, because it helps us go into Trishula, and it helps us go into some other really good plays in here. So I really like it as a one of. And it also helps with going into our copy of Atomic Scrap Dragon if you want to go all the way up into Atomic. Then I play a single copy of Scrap Searcher. Scrap Searcher comes in really handy with Scrap Golem, because when a scrap monster you control, except another copy itself, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your grave, and then when this card is special summoned, destroy all face-up monsters you control except Scrap. So you can actually reborn this with your Golem and put it on your opponent's side of the field, and they have to destroy all their monsters. We play 2 cards to just generate tokens, which is a Mecha Phantom Beast Oleon, or Olion, and then 1 copy of Rosenix. Rosenix is good because if either one of these are sent to the graveyard, you get tokens, so that's the big thing about them. We play a Gizmic Orochi because it's good for banishing stuff, and it's a machine monster, so it's really good and synergizes with the deck. 2 copies of Nibiru, just to kind of help with if our opponent's swarming us. And then 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom just helps out basically with, you know, if your opponent's trying to add stuff, special summon stuff, all sorts of stuff like that. It's just a good 3 of in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Called by the Grave. You need 3 copies of Called by the Grave because you just don't want to deal with hand traps in this deck. And it's just really good to be able to have, you know, the Called by the Graves. 1 copy of Monster Reborn to revive any of your scraps that you might need. A single copy of Terraforming to search out our copy of the Scrap Factory. Foolish Burial because you never know what you need to send to the graveyard in this deck, and it really helps out with Scrap Recycler, being able to send stuff to the graveyard to get your plays going. 1 copy of Scrap Yard. I only play a single copy of Scrap Yard. You'd think this card is really, really good because it's a searcher, but it's really, really just a good one of in here. Basically what this card does is let you add any 1 tuner that's a scrap from your deck to your hand. And it's good, but it doesn't let you add stuff like Scrap Recycler, Scrap, you know, Scrap Chimera. It lets you add Orthos, it lets you add Beast, it lets you add Goblin and stuff like that, and Mind Reader. But it's really just a good one of. I play 3 copies of Scrap Storm. Scrap Storm is a really interesting tech card, or really interesting card in here. You basically get to select a scrap card you control and send a scrap monster from your deck to the grave, and then draw a card, then destroy the selected card. So basically you pick a card on your side of the field and destroy it. Then you send a scrap from your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to draw on a card. So it replaces the one that you had on the field, and it can kind of almost search any card in the deck because you send one to grave, and then you pop one on the field, and then the one on the field lets you search one or add it back from your graveyard to your hand, which can be really, really good. Then we play 3 copies of Scrap Factory. Scrap Factory is nuts in this deck. Basically what Scrap Factory does is all scrap monsters gain 2 under attack, and then when face-up scrap monster is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a scrap from your deck to your side of the field, and you can only use this effect once per turn. Scrap Factory is the reason this deck even works well. This card is absolutely crazy, and you want to resolve Scrap Factory as much as possible, because if you pop a card on your side of the field, you special summon out Golem effect, special summon out something from the graveyard, link them away into Scrap Wyvern, and then go from there. You've got a lot of plays going. I mean, you've got a lot of plays going with Scrap Factory. And then I play 3 copies of Mind Control because we usually want to go second in this deck anyways. Mind Control really helps us get our opponent's monsters off the field and helps us get our Scrap Wyvern out, because you can just normal summon the Scrap Wyvern, or normal summon a scrap monster, and then Scrap Wyvern just requires a scrap monster and another monster. You take it with the Mind Control of your opponent's side of the field, link it away with your scrap monster you normal summon. If you don't have Recycler, you link it away with anything else, and then summon Scrap Wyvern onto your side of the field. So you do have plays even if you don't get the factory onto your side of the field. So that's it for the spells and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Scrap Dragon. You do actually go into this card pretty frequently. I usually go into Twin Scrap Dragon more often, but you do go into this card kind of frequently. Its effect is that once per turn, you can select a card you control and a card your opponent controls and destroy them both. And then when this card is destroyed, an opponent's monster by your opponent's card, either by battle or by effect, and sent to the graveyard, you could select a non-tuner scrap in your graveyard and then special summon it so it replaces itself on top of that. 2 copies of Scrap Twin Dragon. This card is the MVP of the deck. I make this all the time when I play this deck. But once per turn, you can select a card your opponent controls, or a card you control and 2 your opponent controls. Destroy the one on your side of the field and return the 2 your opponent controls to their hand. And then when this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, either by battle or by card effect, and sent to the graveyard, you can select a non-tuner in your graveyard scrap monster and then special summon it, which really helps out as well because it helps you get into like Scrap Dragon back on the field and then go for like Atomic or something like that, or synchro with a level 1 tuner like Mind Reader that you might have in your graveyard, and then synchro into a copy of another copy of Twin Dragon. I play a single copy of Atomic Scrap Dragon. I don't make this that often, but it has come up where you'll have 2 scrap monsters on the field that are level 4 and a scrap tuner on the field. But basically, this is a really good card that once per turn, you can select a card on the field you control and up to 3 cards your opponent controls, and then you return the opponent's monsters or its opponent's cards into the deck, and then when this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can select a scrap synchro monster and then special summon it. But basically what you do with this one is you have like a Scrap Dragon on the field. The easiest way to get this card out is to have Scrap Dragon on the field and then have a Scrap Mind Reader on the field and then maybe a token on the field or a Scrap Searcher on the field and then make this card really, really, really easily. And it helps you OTK so much because it gives your opponent such a minus with 3 cards. This card is just so good. I play a single copy of Borreload Savage Dragon. Borreload Savage really easy to go into in this deck as well because you play so many synchro plays and so much like that. Trish is another really easy one to go into. Basically, you just have 2 cards on the field that are level 4 or level 3, or level 3 and a level 5, and plus a level 1. But usually you use a level 1 tuner monster to go in this with 2 level 4s, or level 3 and level 4 and a level, or level 3, 5, and 1 to go in this card. 1 copy of Naturia Beast because the entire deck is Earth, so it's really easy to go into. Boral Sword to OTK, and then the MVP of the deck is going to be the Scrap Wyvern. Scrap Wyvern is really good because once per turn you can target a scrap card in your graveyard and special summon it. Then you get to destroy a card your opponent controls, and if another face-up scrap monster is destroyed by a card effect while you control this card, you can special summon a scrap monster from your deck, then destroy a card on the field. So basically it pops 2 cards and then brings out 2 scrap monsters. This card is ridiculously easy to go into any Link 4 that you want to go into, so that's when we play a Crusadia Avermax. Avermax is really easy to go into. You can probably change it out for Apotheos if you want to play Apotheosa, if you want to play her, or the bow, you want to play her. She's really easy to go into. Soryuja is another really easy one to go into with 4 materials, so you can draw 4. So I play it as a 1-of. Nightmare Unicorn to bounce stuff, and then I play a single copy of Linkuriboh because Linkuriboh is good with all the level 1s we have in the deck, and you never know if you're going to grab a level 1 off your opponent's side of the field with the copy of Mind Control. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a super fun deck that I highly recommend you guys trying. I know this deck has been getting a lot of notice recently because of the Scrap Recycler and being able to go with Scrap Wyvern in Orcus decks. But it's just a good, to be honest with you, standalone deck where it can just play by itself. So anyways, guys, this is Dark Arm Duelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.